I was going to introduce Mehernosh, but I doubt if he needs an introduction. Like, he's the Wealth, Wisdom, Wellness W3 coach. And from whatever we have seen so far with the interaction, he is one of the most fantastic speakers in India. I went on Google. I'm very sneaky, so I searched your name and I looked up a few things. And it was beautiful to see the community that Mehernosh has created, how many people have taken advantage of the teachings of Mehernosh and used them in many different scenarios, whether it is their own coaching, whether it is their personal lives, careers, professional lives. And it is not just about qualifications and skills that he carries with himself, but the experiences he's going to bring us today here. So I'm not going to hold you any further and let the magic begin.
Thank you, Flora. So good afternoon, good morning from all parts of the world. And thank you so much for being here and adding to the life of this session. Well, how did you add to the life of this session? What did I just use? What was that?
Metaphor.
Right, thank you. So aren't we always using metaphor at all times? We are, I definitely mean it. We all mean it when we say something, but we are speaking metaphorically. We are all the time using some object, something to convey something in some unfamiliar thing in a familiar way. That is what metaphor does. Yeah, like a river, as Ravi is saying. The flow of the session is going to be like a river, and we are all going to flow in it together. So welcome to the session. And it's my honor to be presenting again once more in this year at the Global Summit. So here, tell me, what do you make sense of what is there on the slide over here? Especially this thing. Yeah, any thoughts? You can speak out or you can type in the chat box. Thinking, okay. A pot of knowledge, okay. Ideas. Yeah, the smiley is thinking that what is this jar all about?
You see something and then you think of something. Relate to something.
Yeah, okay. Wonderment. Okay, what is the jar about? It's the jar of, or the pot for wonderment. What exactly is it? Any guesses, any thoughts?
The hidden secrets.
Which secrets?
Hidden secrets.
Hidden secrets are there in the pot. Yeah. Okay, idea bank, knowledge bank. Okay. Okay, let's see. We'll come to that. Meanwhile, you can keep the curiosity alive that what exactly is this jar all about? Okay. So most of you had signed up, as you said, for the program, for this session as well. And this is mainly going to be related to all these books and some more research of mine. So just sharing with you, if you want to read further and dive in further in the power of metaphors, this is a good reference tool to have. Let's do a quick activity. Okay. When you registered for this session, I know some of you said that you came in because of me, so I'm very thankful for that, honored. But more importantly, when you read about what I'm going to be talking about, it was about the power of metaphors, right? Metaphor is a figure of thought. Explore how to create your own empowering metaphors to climb the ladder of success. And there was some more write-up which was given about this when Nishit and the Global NLP team asked me to give. So this is the synopsis I had shared. Now, the activity for you is, can you spot the metaphors in this text? I hope you all can read. Yeah, on the screen. Yeah.
Climb the ladder.
Climb the ladder, paint a picture, best foot forward, figure of thought, figure of speech, lens.
New light.
New light.
Sparking.
sparking, pot of gold, end of the rainbow.
Deconstruct.
Deconstruct, paint a picture.
Different lens.
Different lens. Now, what do all these metaphors mean to you? Yeah, explore.
Best foot forward.
Yeah. Best foot forward, prompting people. So, how have you made sense of this text? A way to understand means of representing language, make it concrete. Visual in the mind, yes. Visualizing, comparing. Our language paints a picture, a very visual picture to make sense of what is being said. We all think in terms of pictures. Although there may be, if you look at the WACOG, there may be people who process thoughts visually, auditorily, kinesthetically. But most powerful one of that is visuals. We talk in terms of images. Our language is full of imagery. And metaphors can paint that picture very powerfully. And what was so unique about this text? If you had read it earlier, maybe you would say, okay, this is what I'm getting from this session. Maybe you would have spotted the metaphors, or maybe you wouldn't have spotted the metaphors. Spotting the metaphors, sometimes we can consciously, actively look at metaphors and spot it that this is what is there in it. Or very often, we are constantly anyways making sense of things visually, metaphorically. Whether we realize it consciously or not, unconsciously, subconsciously, we are anyway making sense of it in terms of visuals and metaphors. Isn't it? So, where can you spot metaphors? Where all can you spot metaphors?
In communications.
In communication? Yeah, you just spotted one. Which one? In poems, lectures, storytelling, books, coaching, ads, movies, stories. To spot a metaphor itself is a metaphor, exactly, isn't it? So which means you don't have to go out searching and figuring out where can I find metaphoric language. We are using it, you are using it, I am using it in day-to-day life. Anything can metaphor for another. Exactly, metaphors are everywhere. That's the point. You'll find it everywhere around you. And look at this picture. It's a metaphoric picture. When we say that the picture speaks 1,000 words, one picture is equivalent to 1,000 words. Those 1,000 words which we are talking, anyway, we are making pictorial sense of it. So words can also be our pictures to the world. So to just share with you, I had made this research paper last year on how interpretations of metaphors changes people's understanding of others. And I'll be referring a bit from this as well to make sense of how to understand our own metaphors, how to understand people's metaphors, where can you spot them, how can you use them, how you can utilize them effectively to bring about a change as well. So just to share a bit more about myself, you may find it on the profile, so I will not spend too much time on this. But what makes me a W3 expert, that is expert in wealth, wisdom, and wellness, is a flora of all of this together. My financial degrees, my NLP, wisdom, and ideas about health and wisdom and wellness all over put together, compiled into one. All right, so let's move on to see that what exactly metaphors are. Sure, Payal, I will share the link on the group of my research paper as well. Sorry. I'll share the link on the WOA platform. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so metaphor to be defined by the Oxford Dictionary, it is applying a speech to another action or object in a non-literal manner. Things that you can't assume that you can do literally. Like painting a picture. When you are painting a picture through words, I'm not expecting you to pick up a paintbrush and draw on a canvas. And that's a metaphor. So they are implicit comparisons. It leaves the interpretation of the concept to the other person. Although when I'm making that implicit comparison, I'm also having an interpretation of the concept the way I'm doing a meaning making of it and putting it across. And when I'm using a metaphor, I'm expecting you to understand the process in the same metaphor in which I'm using. And that's a default expectation, by the way. It may or may not be true. It may happen that I'm using a metaphor in a certain way and you understand it in a different way. And you are making your own meaning making, you are applying your filters of deletion, distortion, generalization on the metaphors which I am using and interpreting them probably the way I intended, or probably in some other way which I may have assumed or cannot even imagine, because you are making your own meaning making all the time. Thing to understand is that most thinking is metaphorical. We are right now presumably in a room, in a Zoom room, in a room all together. But the fact of the life is we are in different rooms and yet in the same room, isn't it? So language itself is a metaphor for people to express themselves. And we develop this, we start developing it from a very young age. So on the WOA platform, there was a question that, how to develop metaphors at a teenage level. We are constantly developing metaphors. Our learning is metaphorical. You may be knowing this, that our learning, all learning happens at an unconscious, at a subconscious level. Although we are learning things at a conscious level, we are figuring out things consciously. The meaning making of what we are learning is happening subconsciously. And that meaning making is what is strengthening, bonding the learning. Would you agree with me? Or do you have some thoughts on this? Yes, Sumi?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about how the metaphors can land with a completely different meaning to the other person. Then how do you make sure that it lands with the same meaning that you expected it to in the first place?
Yes, and that can bring us back to the fundamental presupposition of NLP, that the meaning of the communication is in the
Response that you get.
context. So if you want to generate the response that you want, then maybe you'll have to clarify the meaning. Right? If someone says, I can just see all red around me. If you're coaching someone or someone in your family tells you, I can see all red around me. What meaning would that mean to you? I want each of you to think about it. What would that mean to you if somebody says, I can see all red around me? And then type in what you think. Alert, infected eye, both danger or love. It could mean losses. Yeah, we are in the red, business in the red. So it could be a management team saying that there is red all around. Or it could be a very romantic statement that I see all red around me. It's Valentine's and it's always Valentine. Every day is Valentine. I just see red around me. Or it can be warmth. Or it can be danger, alert. Glasses with red hue. Could be anger. Yeah. It could mean bleeding, red objects around. It could be literally, I'm in a room with a red object. Like you can see red around Nirupama right now, behind Nirupama. It could be a literal red. Isn't it? Red could mean celebrations. Now to answer Sumi's question, if you are expecting somebody else to understand what you are saying when you say, I see all red around me, you better clarify. Now, when will that element of clarification come? When you yourself are aware that I'm using metaphorical language. I'm using language which can make different sense to different people. And I better clarify so that people get the right sense of what I'm saying. If I'm going red in the face, it could be out of anger or it could be out of blushing as well. And sometimes we think it's obvious. No, when you say red in the face, it means there is anger. It's a negative emotion. But it may not be that obvious. Sometimes the most obviously looking things are not that obvious. And you realize, oh, that was a different meaning. Oh, you meant that. Oh, I thought it meant this. So before you get into I thought, you better clarify. Okay, so I hope, Sumi, that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So some of the metaphors which I had figured out while doing the research, just to share with you all, like words cut deeper than a knife. Life is a journey. Life is a struggle. There may be many ways. If I ask you right now, what is life? You may give your own interpretation. And I can be 100% sure you are going to describe it metaphorically. He's the captain of the ship. Now tell me, let's talk on this. And this is something which I found while doing the research. People had different interpretations of this. What could it mean? He's the captain of the ship. Could there be
He's
different meanings?
leading the ship.
Leading the
He's-
ship?
He is leading the family.
Yes, leading the family or the boss, the guiding light, leader, be your own boss. Yeah, he's in control, decision maker, he's the CEO. Yes, the person who said it meant that he doesn't allow space for other people to make a decision. And that's why he's the captain of the ship. Now, it may appear that it's said in a very nice way, it's a compliment, but the intent behind that was not about a compliment. Let's see some more. Bed of crimson joy. Like you said, you'll find this a lot in poems as well. Wife can be the captain of the ship, yeah. Lawyers are also sharks. So in what way? Like when you watch this show called Shark Tank, isn't that itself a metaphor? How are these investors sharks? And there can be many interpretations of that. Love is like flying a kite that is flying. And this was a very specific metaphor which I found being used more in the Chinese culture. In other cultures, in Europe, in India, in America, love being connected to a flying kite was not that connectable, or people could not make connection out of it. But then in Chinese, it seems to be it's a regular thing to say that, okay, love is like a kite that is flying. Happiness is like flowers in the heart. This we say even in India, dil baag baag ho gaya, right? Like flowers blossoming in the heart. Time flies with wings. Two-faced person, doglapan, so double-faced. They're not really two-faced, right? Depression is as darkness or weight or bubble. These are all interpretations, meaning makings that we do. What am I trying to say over here?
You are sharing only a few things with us. The jar has many black peppers inside it. You have just scattered a little bit.
All right. All right. Any other thoughts? What is this jar of? Okay, what is this? Jar of black pepper spilling over. Our daily speech is peppered with metaphors. And we add the mirchi masala, the spice, and make our words more colorful, more spicy, more enriched with the flavor of peppers. So let's take some more examples from relationship aspects. Look how far we have come. Have we actually physically walked or traveled from one place to another? No, in relationship, we have just, we've covered a long way together. We are at a crossroads. It's not that we are literally standing at a crossroad, but we are now, maybe we have to take a decision. We have to make choices between which road we take. we'll just have to go our separate ways. It could mean literally like, deciding to split and you go your way, I go my way, but there is no way as such. There is no pathway as such, literally. Or it could mean that, okay, we are on the same path and we'll do our separate things together. We can't turn back now. Or even we say that, he did things behind my back. Unless you were driving on the front seat and they were doing something at the back of your, on the back seat, that could be something different. That could be literal. I don't think this relationship is going anywhere. Where is it meant to go? We still say it that way, right? Where are we? So we are right here in front of each other, and yet we say, where are we? What are we doing? We are stuck. Really? Can't you move? It's been a long, bumpy road. Are you actually on the road? Are you on the highway? Are you on a desert safari? Where exactly are you? Our marriage is on the rocks. Marriages are made in heaven. Now, what do you gather from these kind of metaphors? One is, okay, what we've already been discussing, that we make different sense of things, right? What else? Like if you are communicating metaphors all times, and let's take these examples only. What comes to your mind as you see these examples?
Words are few, but the meanings are very deep.
Yes. Thank you. What else? Visualizing the exact picture. Okay. What else? We are using without knowing in detail. Yeah. We are using metaphors all the time. Meanings are contextual. Yeah. What else?
A whole story can be created around that metaphor.
Yeah. Yeah. True. What else? When you explain your state of mind and you are using language, or whatever situation you are in, you are using language, you are using a metaphor all the time. Right? Now, if the speaking is happening metaphorically, it's representation that the thinking is also happening metaphorically. Now, whether you're describing a nice, happy, positive situation, or maybe a stuck situation, you are expressing that metaphorically. Now, if it's a nice metaphor, you want to stay in rapport with the person. One of the things in NLP you've already understood about being in rapport is meeting them where they are. Matching, mirroring. Now, matching, mirroring, and rapport is not only about matching, mirroring the non-verbals and the physiology, it's also about matching, mirroring the words. Their metaphors. While communicating with somebody, can we utilize their own metaphors? For example, if I take one of these examples from here, if a person says that we are at a crossroad right now, and let's say they are wanting to talk to you to come up with a solution, maybe they're asking you for a solution, rather than you telling them what to do directly, that, okay, you need to take a call, you need to do this, that, blah, blah, blah. How can you use their metaphor and probably show them some direction? What can you do? Taking the example, we are at a crossroad.
Can we say that now that you're in a crossroad, you have few options left to choose the best out of it?
Yes. Yeah. And that's a good reframing, utilizing the metaphor. Right? So being at a crossroad is not bad, but you're not telling them, you're not advising them. So what if you're at a crossroad? You're just telling them, okay, now that means you have options to choose from. What else? How many options ahead of you foresee? Now that we are at crossroads, where do you want to progress? Yes.
What roads do you want to take? What roads can you take?
Yes. What road can you take? Which road is going to lead you where?
What is your goal?
Yeah, you can use that. I'm saying utilize their metaphor also. So maybe you can say, okay, what is your goal and which of these routes will take you closer to that goal? Stay in the metaphor of the client. They have painted a nice metaphoric
Oh,
world.
wow. How this crossroad will be useful for your future.
Yeah, yes. They are telling you, they are giving you on a plate the way in which they are thinking. They are literally spelling out to you their world, their model of the world. Often when someone says that, our natural response is very often to respond with our own metaphor or our own language. We tend to pay attention more to the meaning making that we are doing rather than staying in the meaning making of the client. Like just an example, another way, and not that effective way where you miss out using the metaphor could be when the person says we are at the crossroad and you say, okay, so let us see what all you would like to do. Or can you tell me what do you want out of this? Now, these are nice open-ended questions. Even they are valid in coaching and discussing and helping people. The thing you are missing out on is that they have given you their world metaphorically. You're probably missing out utilizing their metaphoric world. Right? So you can even stay in the metaphor and say that, you know, if you were to open up Google Maps right now, which road would it ask you to take? Stay with them. They're on the road. Don't bring them in the room. Stay with them. Take them, meet them where they are. Right? How do you plan to use this crossroad to take your relationship to the next level? Yeah, utilizing that. That's also good. Which option comes first rather than that? Which road comes first? Which road will take you sooner to your end goal? Or where is your destination? Which crossroad takes you to which destination? Yeah.
I just want to know if you're at the crossroad, let's fly from here. So rise above and see. Can that also make sense?
Yeah. Which vehicle do you have? Or what choices of vehicles do you have at this crossroad? Which one is going to be a smoother road? Which one is going to be a bumpier road? Stay in the road. Don't take them to the room. Yeah, Afia, your hand is up.
Yeah, hi. So I just wanted to use this metaphor to give an example, saying maybe you can counter back saying that, you know, crossroads bring so many choices and every turn will be an adventurous trip and every trip will lead to some beautiful destination. So you have so many choices to make.
Yes, interesting. Yes, you can use that.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
Thank you.
So examples are everywhere. In fact, not just in day-to-day language, some of our favorite books that we read, look at the titles of that book. Art of War. Is it about war? It's about strategy in business leadership, in management. Who moved my chief? Those who have read this book will realize what this book is about. It's about change. It's about adapting to change and being resilient to change. But metaphorically, when you express, it connects in a better way because here you are making sense of an abstract concept like leadership, strategy, change, using something concrete, something that can be related to. The characters in your story need not be real life characters. They could even be mice, like in Who Moved My Cheese, there are mice who are playing the main characters. Awaken the giant within. Yeah, we all have a giant within us. Or we also say we all have a book within us. Really? Where is the book? What's there? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And that itself is a metaphor. How to learn something new? You chunk it down. In smaller chunks, absorb it bit by bit, piece by piece. Or eat that frog. a book on stopping procrastination. Now, what has frog got to do with procrastination? It's about doing that thing which is most difficult, the ugliest thing in the beginning. Start the day with doing the most difficult thing. And that's represented by a frog. And some of the books that you are seeing over here are anyway out there in the general non-fiction category. Let's take some books which are closer to us in the NLP field. Yes, Orlando, exactly. Frogs to Princes. By Bandler and Grinder. Or change your mind and keep the change. Isn't that metaphorically? Or one of the original first books of NLP, The Structure of Magic. It's not a book on magic. Someone may think by the title, oh, we are going to learn magic. But yeah, it is a book on creating magical transformations using language and therapy. And what connects us to these books, these titles, is the way it is represented in a metaphorical manner. All right, so time for another activity. What we are going to do is, I want you all to think of a flower. Don't type in the chat box. Just think of a flower. Add some more detailing into that. What kind of flower is it? What is around the flower? Add some more detailing into that. All right. You all have your flower with you. Now I'm going to put you into breakout rooms of 3 people each. And I want each of you to be curious about each other's flower. So one person will first start and share about his or her flower. And the other people will ask details. Okay, what kind of flower is it? What kind of flower is that flower? Where is that flower? What is there? So I'm not going to put words into your mouth right now. I want you to figure out. And as you do that, I want you to find out, how many similarities are there between your flowers and how many differences are there? Okay, what are things that are in common? What are things which are different? So I'll create rooms of 3 to 4 people each. Okay. And I would like you to join in. And this is going to be just a 4-minute exercise. Okay, please come back after 4 minutes and we'll pull you back. So take around 1.5 minutes, not more than that, to describe your flower. Please join.
Should we name the flower?
You can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which flower, what it is. Describe the flower. Please join.
Hi, Abida. You okay?
Same flower. Did you create a garden of your own with 3-4 different flowers? So what was the key learning from this discussion?
Everyone makes a different meaning.
Yes.
It's about being curious about what the other person's flower is.
Wonderful. Yes.
I want to just add up. My son told everyone has their own flowers.
Ah, okay.
I was only in the room briefly, but the 2 ladies, beautiful descriptions, but I could actually see elements of those descriptions in them. So, for example, was one word, sparkling, I think it was. It's like, yeah, that is exactly what you're like, because you sparkle. So I thought it was really interesting how elements of the description of the flowers match the person.
Wow. Wow. Very interesting. Amazing.
Every flower is beautiful and unique in its own way. I think that's the essences of the whole exercise.
Yeah.
Different flowers make a garden, and every flower is unique in its own way.
Beautifully put. Yeah.
And there is always a story behind a flower.
Interesting. Yeah. Yes.
Everybody is artistically describing a flower in a very metaphoric way. So the metaphor is inbuilt in them.
Yeah.
What I found very interesting in what Afia and Brendan were a part of our team, not all of us could share. Brendan was asking wonderful questions, and Afia used two distinct qualities about the flower. And she said that one of the things is that it's very pretty, it's beautiful, and it's in a bush. So Brendan did ask a question saying that, is it a part of the bush? So it's almost like being part of something. So that was one that gave some insight into Afia, if I got that right. And the second is said the fragrance is not very overwhelming, but it's very charming. So your presence per se, in terms of if you were to dig in deeper at a personality level, it could just give a sense of why the person is attracted to a flower over the other one. And the presence is there, but it's not very overpowering. So yeah.
Yes, interesting. Thank you.
Welcome.
The only way to know the details of what's happening in someone's mind is to ask a question, because we had one flower in a pot, one flower as part of one was in a pot, one was in a vase, one was part of a tree, and another was a field of orchids.
Wow.
And if we use our map instead of the other person's, we can misinterpret very, very quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for adding that much of like insight and enriching the discussion with your participation. Super.
I want to add up something over here. Orlando asked questions to us to make our imagination become more lively. His questions were really very helpful to make a deeper sense for us, all of us, like, you know. So thank you, Orlando.
Brilliant. Great. Thank you. Great sharing. Superb. So a simple thing like flower can have so many different ways, so many different metaphors, so many different depictions behind it. And just think about it. In day-to-day life, what language we are using, how easily we expect the other person to make the same sense that we are saying. Like if I would tell someone that I'm talking about a flower, that is a flower, what's the big deal? That's a flower, right? Flower is a flower is a flower. Even in a flower, so many different things. Or you say that, okay, in day-to-day life, in day-to-day communication with your team members, with your clients, with your family members, when you're using some words, remember that you are having your own metaphorical meaning of it, which may or may not match with theirs. At the same time, when they are using words, they are having their own meaning that may be different from yours. And the one thing that is needed to somewhere bridge that difference, bridge the difference as in not align the two. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about bridging the understanding that, okay, what is happening? How come? What are you thinking? What am I thinking? That integral quality, that attribute that is needed is what Payal mentioned. Be curious about the other person's flower. Very often, we are going out of the way and trying to describe our own flower and harping that what a flower should be and expecting people to understand what our flower is and expecting other people's flower to be the same as our flower. But when you're curious about other flowers, you understand, oh, what is happening in their world? What is their metaphor? So awesome. So that means that, we are able to actually fill in the gaps by asking questions. The gaps between my understanding and your understanding can be filled up by asking questions. And here we got a deep insight of different people's model of the world through a metaphor of a flower. Now, if I say fill in the gaps, what comes to you? What can this be? What could fill in the gaps be? You can either say it out or type in the chat box. What kind of gaps are we talking about?
Maybe like moving from misunderstanding to understanding.
Yeah. Yes. Providing information, context, asking question. Yeah. What else? If there was a literal way to understand this, what kind of gaps would be there? If I say that some gaps have to be filled up, not metaphorically, literally, what gaps would they be? Fix the hole in the wall. Yeah, that could be a gap.
Find out what is missing.
Yes. Potholes, yeah. Emotion attached to make it smoother. Okay. There could be so many different interpretations, right? Even these are some examples of filling up the gaps. So which gaps, what is happening in the mind is all metaphorical and needs to be understood by just being curious. And sometimes when a person says, we need to fill up gaps in our relationship, or we need to fill up gaps in the business, or there is a huge gap between where I am and where I want to be, they are letting you know that they are thinking about that problem structure as a gap. Now, how do you tackle this? How do you discuss that with them? What could be a good question to ask? And here I'm not talking about reframing like we did about the crossroads. If you were to ask some powerful questions, when a person says that there is a huge gap between where I am and where I want to be.
What is the roadblock?
What is the roadblock? Okay. What else?
How is this gap affecting you?
How is the gap affecting you? Okay. What else?
How many ways can you build?
Sorry?
How many ways can you bridge? Okay, how many ways can you bridge the gap?
Okay. Yeah. How many ways? What is your meaning of gaps is a better question to ask. Find out the gap before we even go to bridging it. A very interesting, insightful question would be, what kind of gap is that gap?
Mehernosh, how about what is the gap like?
Yeah. Yes.
So it could lead to a metaphoric response. It is like whatever.
Yeah. Yes. So what is it like? What kind of gap is it? Tell me more about this gap. Tell me more is a very beautiful, open-ended question. There is one very powerful coaching question you can use is tell me more, or another one is an awe question, AWE. Anyone knows what is awe? So very yeah, Sumi.
And what else?
And what else? Thank you. The awe question is and what else? So open-ended that it allows the client to fill it up with their own understanding. What are they talking about? Before you even talk about bridging the gap, when you ask them, what is the gap all about? What is it like? What kind of gap is that gap? And where is that gap? And where do you see the gap? And build on that. They may tell you that the gap is on the road, or the gap is a hole in the wall, or it's a pothole. What is the gap separating? What is there in between on other sides of the gap? When you ask this, they describe the problem again metaphorically. When they're describing the problem metaphorically, what are you getting now? What information are you getting?
Their meaning making.
Their meaning.
And entering into their world.
Entering into their metaphoric world.
They are describing their problem, right?
Yeah. And now
what is their gap?
Yeah. and utilize.
What is that? Means what is?
Yeah, what is their picture of the gap? Now, one question when I asked this, what question you would ask? I think one of you said that, where is the roadblock? If you are asking where is the roadblock, you are assuming that the gap has something to do with a roadblock. Whereas if they say the gap is a hole in the wall, sorry, then you realize that it is not about road anymore. Now, let's take this example. Let's carry it forward. If they say there is a hole in the wall, the gap is like a hole in the wall, what would you ask? Stay in the metaphor of the client.
How big it was?
How big is the hole? Yeah. What does that wall represent?
The size of it?
The size of it, the depth of it, how deep is the hole?
Can you see through the hole?
Yes. Yeah. Is it see-through?
What can
And
you
what
think
is on the other
can
side
fill
of
the
the
hole?
hole? What is on the other side? Yeah, Nirupama?
What can you think can fill this hole?
What
Or how can we think that we can fill this hole?
Hey, now that is not a clean question. See, one is a clean question where you are not assuming anything. You are staying in the metaphor of the client
Mhm.
and asking powerful questions that allow the client to come up with more ideas about what is represented. When you say how to conceal the hole, you are presupposing that the client wants to conceal the hole.
Right.
The client doesn't want to conceal the hole. What do you want to do with the hole? Then let them say, okay, I want to conceal it or want to patch it up. And again, your conceal may be different from my patch. One thing is when we are using the client's metaphors, very often, many coaching philosophies say that from time to time, you should paraphrase what the client is saying. Okay. So what do you think? Should you paraphrase? Paraphrases using your own synonyms and putting them. What should you do?
Better use the words of the clients.
Yes. So don't paraphrase it, parrot phrase it. Be a parrot and repeat exactly the same words. If the client says they want to patch it up, you don't say you want to conceal it, what to do to conceal it. Stay in the metaphor of the client, because what does patching mean is another flow of thoughts. Now, as they go about, so now you understand the flow over here. Okay, you are utilizing their metaphor. You are staying in that metaphoric world. The client has expressed a problem using a metaphor, and you are asking questions not focused on the problem, but asking questions focused on the metaphor. Now, focus on the problem aspect of the metaphor, a gap, the hole in the wall. What do you want to do about it? When the client replies to that, you are now getting the client's representation of the solution to the metaphoric problem. When you're getting the solution to the metaphoric problem, let's say they say, I want to patch it. Now you ask, how are you going to patch it? Or how are you going to conceal it? Whatever words they are using, use that only. Maybe they'll say, if I had some white cement and some paint, I could do it. Or some plaster of Paris will do the trick. Let them provide their own solutions from their own metaphoric world. You don't tell them get some plaster of Paris. Let them say, what is that tool? What is their resource? And when they have said that, when you explore that further, go deeper, then relate the plaster of Paris or whatever solution to the real world. So if you're in a current situation, this is the whole, what will be the plaster of Paris over here? Do you think they'll find some answers there? Yeah. So the problem is stated metaphorically. Deep dive into it metaphorically, bring out the solution metaphorically, and apply the solution in real. Establishing the whole of the problem, the wall could be the problem, the whole could be the beginning of the solution. Yeah, exactly. You don't know. Maybe they want the whole only. They don't want the wall at all. Maybe maybe when you ask them, what do you want to do with the whole? Their response may be, I want to break the wall altogether. Leave it to them. They have all the solutions. Isn't it? So, to continue, let's see some more metaphorical slides. Yeah, new perspective. Okay, mind cannot be empty because mind is M3, meaning making machine. We are constantly making meaning. Okay, let's do some another interesting activity. Okay, a metaphorical prompt for you. What life lessons do you learn from a door? Think about it. Don't jump to answer over here. Write in your notebook. What lesson do you learn from a door? Don't type in the chat box right now, because we don't want your answers to influence other people's lessons. What lesson does the door teach you? Okay. So, who would like to share?
The door is not the stopper for viewing the entire picture of the world.
Oh,
the other side of the world.
There is something beyond the door. Yeah. Okay.
I wrote 3 points. Yeah. You need to secure and safeguard yourself from people, weather, and surroundings.
Okay.
And I also wrote, always limit your boundaries. And third one is, not everyone should have access to your space.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Yeah, Annette?
Yeah, mine was open it and see where it leads, explorative. And then the other thought that popped up for me was, is the door locked and blocking and therefore being a barrier? So I had 2 sort of things that came popping up for me.
Awesome. Awesome. Great.
So
Thank you.
for me, the door needs to be opened up. When you're shutting yourself up, then you're shutting all the opportunities. So the moment somebody, then maybe an external force, mostly the door is opened by an external force. You open it or somebody else opens it. And that's when all the light, the freshness, new opportunities come in. So you take a step out when the door is open. So when the door keeps itself shut, it closes itself to a lot of opportunities.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Brendan?
A door would normally lead to somewhere else. So there's always another place and therefore another way.
Interesting. Yeah, thank you. Ravi?
Door sets boundary, and it's a way to go to the world, and it's a territory of our comfort zone.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Payal?
So for me, a door is when you open a door, it opens up new worlds and new adventures.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, Dr. Sheila.
That door can be opened and closed. So if you are opening the door, you are getting new opportunities. You are exploring new things. And when you want to block some unnecessary things, you can close the door. So you can use it both ways.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Prashanta?
So opening and closing of door doesn't mean anything. It helps me to focus myself, whether I'm influenced by external stimuli or inside stimuli.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Super. Wow.
Can even lead to another room, to another new beginnings.
Beautiful. So what did you just get over here from one door? So many lessons. So many different perspectives to look at the door, right? Let me share my lesson from the door. The door teaches you that there are two simple ways to achieve success: push and pull. There is no right lesson, wrong lesson. It is the lesson that you got. What you are learning, what you are understanding, what metaphors you are creating. Let's take some more examples talking about push and pull. Can you do these actions right now? I'll put up some commands over here. I would like you to actually do them. Okay? Put your pen down. Okay? Put your coat down. Okay? Put someone down. Is this metaphoric or is this literal? Can it be literal? It can, right? If you're putting a child down or somebody down, you're helping them down, it could be. It can even be metaphoric. Push the door. We also use this too. Say metaphorically. Push your limits. Can you do that right now? Push someone to give you the answer. Or pull up your socks. Again, it can be done literally or it can be also done metaphorically. So language that we use can fall into two main categories. So Prashanta is saying third one, myself, lie down on the floor. Yeah, you can put someone down, yeah, yourself down. So there are two kinds of languages. One is literal and one is metaphorical. The thing is that even when we are using metaphorical language, we think we are using literal language. Sometimes we are making sense of it metaphorically, sometimes we are not. Sometimes we process it and we realize, oh, it was just a metaphoric way of doing it. Sometimes we realize, then someone asks, how do you expect me to do that? And if I don't mean that you do it right now, I mean that think about it, expand your boundaries. So how to identify metaphoric language? One is that it can be put in manners like this. It's like, or it is as though, or it is as if. And sometimes it is not put with these words like, as though, as if. You can find out by asking, what is it like? Like the example that we saw, I noticed there is a gap between where I am and where I want to be. Now in that, the words like and as though were not there. But yet you can ask, what is that gap like? So you figure out that there is something which is referring to a different aspect of life, something which is maybe a different concept explained through something different. Something abstract explained through something which is more concrete. something that cannot be done in real life. Literally, you cannot do it. So this is where you know that metaphoric language is being used. So the next step for you all is grab every opportunity to highlight the metaphors used by people. So when can you do that? How can you do that?
Every day.
Every day.
It can start from this moment onwards.
Yeah. Where do you notice at this moment right now?
It's grab every opportunity.
Yeah. Grab every opportunity, highlight the metaphor. Are you going to sit with a highlighter and put it on the forehead of the person? Yeah, that's a metaphor. But that is what's metaphor. Notice, grab every opportunity, highlight every metaphor that you hear. And the summit is still going to be there till evening. Make use of the global summit and listen to the speakers and notice their metaphors also.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
When you're in breakout rooms, do that. When you're taking a break for lunch or meeting people around you, today is nice Sunday, use that opportunity to practice and listen to the metaphors of people. So now, how to make sense of metaphors? We have already understood a bit of that what to do and how to make sense of other people's metaphors. Let's look at this. What is this trying to say?
Pencils to use now.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
2 pencils to use.
Okay, 2 pencils that can be used. Okay, what else?
Broken pencil.
Broken pencil, that is very literal. What else? Take a break. Yeah. Multiply your resources.
You can make 3 pencils out of this. One is from both sides, and the third one is the third one. So instead of 1, it became 3. So when something breaks you, when storms come in your life, there are many opportunities that are there in those storms. So you need to identify.
Yes, very interesting.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. Okay, yeah, you are sharing the pen. Yeah, okay. Break the routine. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Yeah, that's a good metaphor. It's a breaking point. Yeah, it could be snapped or different ways, whatever meaning you are making of it. Right? Now, this is the actual situation in a company, in a meeting. There was a manager who was listening to ideas of a team member. And at one point, he got up and said, this is the breaking point. And the team member got very upset. That how come this is a breaking point? I mean, I'm telling I've put so much of effort in explaining this. What is wrong in this? You're saying it's a breaking point. So what's the breakdown in this? Team member couldn't figure out. Till the team member asked, what do you mean by breaking point? What do you think the manager said?
Turning point. Could that be a turning point?
We have got a breakthrough. Yeah, Rahul. Wow, it's a powerful breakthrough. Now, breaking point, same thing, different meaning, different people. What meaning making you are giving to that word? And look at it. In spite of the team member putting all effort and knowing that this thing will work, one comment of the manager interpreted wrongly made the team member feel that the idea was bad and not accepted. Luckily, the team member was smart or to ask a clean question. What do you mean by breaking point? And he said, oh, we've discovered a breakthrough. So now we are also going to do a breaking point over here, another breakout session, very short one. And breaking point as a breakout, taking it that way. I want you all to just describe, fill in this. Life is. Okay, and share with each other in the breakout room. Again, 4-minute exercise, not more than that. So, Flora, if you can help me with the breakouts.
4 minutes, yeah?
Yeah.
And you want 3 people per room?
Yeah.
The rooms are open.
Okay, thank you.
It automatically assigned you a room. Room 2, there is no one. So I reassigned the participants who were not going to the last room. I put them together just in case if they don't show up.
Yeah, better.
Have you looked at the question on VOA? Would you like to address that?
Yeah, we sure.
Yeah. It was metaphorical language is indeed effective. Do you want me to paste it in the chat box for you?
Yeah, I'm reading.
Metaphorical language. Oh, you have it there. All right. Oh, the other one is mine.
Okay.
There are only those 2 questions.
So should I address it in the Zoom right now, or can I answer it on the VOA later on?
Either ways, like it is an interesting question if you want to take it up if you have time at the end.
Sure.
Otherwise on VOA, whatever works for you the best.
Okay. So I think
if you answer here, I can type it and put it on VOA.
Okay. All right. Fine. I'll do it. So I can answer that right now while the breakout is going
on? Maybe when they come back. So that,
okay.
Because I think Amrita is in the participants, the one who asked the question. So.
Yeah, okay. Fine. Cool. Amrita is not there in the. Okay, welcome back. So how was the breaking point? Good. All right. So you got to share your interpretation of what life is and very interesting interpretations or perspectives from other people as well, I'm sure. Right. So to continue, the thing is that when you realize that other people's metaphors are playing a big role and how they are being interpreted, you know what to do with them. You know how to use it. Which is the most persuasive metaphor? People's personal metaphor. You may have your own favorite metaphors. You may like to use them most of the time. But remember, even when you're using your own favorite metaphors, if you're not explaining the metaphor, you are leaving it subject to other people's interpretation. For example, in the lockdown, one of my friends told me that, lockdown is like a prison. And I asked them, so are you the prisoner or are you the jailer? And that question, although it was not that clean question as such, fitting in the definition of clean question, but yet it was specifying that a prison is not just for a prisoner. You can even be in control of the prison. You may choose when to open the prison. You may choose people who will be there with you. So we'll do a short activity again over here itself. And you can elaborate on this activity later on after the session. But right now, let's begin with it. I want you all to think about a situation in your life. Something that is a current situation that is different from the desired situation. Something from where you are and where you want to go. Somewhere where you are right now. It could be in any area of your life. Okay? And as you think of that particular situation, think about a garden. Visualize this garden in complete detail. What do you see in it? As if you're walking through this garden. This garden is representing your current situation. Take a walk in the garden. Notice around what is there. Look near you, look afar, to whatever extent of the horizon you can see in the garden. Notice, I'm not telling you what should be there. So you create your own garden and tell me what, or be clear that what all is there in this garden, which represents your current situation. Okay, now as you're walking, let's say you're walking out towards the outer exit of the garden. And as you walk out of this garden, just opposite, there is another beautiful garden. The entrance itself is so enticing that you enter the garden. And now visualize this beautiful garden with respect to what your garden should be like. This is the kind of ideal garden that you would want to have. Take a nice, comfortable stroll into this garden. Notice what is there. What do you like in it? What more things are there in this garden which were not there in that earlier garden? Notice every bit. You are feeling that I wish this was my garden rather than that one. And now with that, you can again come out of this garden with a decision. And the decision is that you're going to make your garden like this garden. Now go back to your garden. And notice what are the different things that you'll need to do in order to make it like that beautiful garden that you want. What resources are required? What tools are required? And now think about how will you apply these tools in terms of your current situation that you took in the beginning. What do these tools, these resources represent in your real situation? Allow your mind to think about that, and you'll find your answers now or later, consciously or unconsciously. And maybe that will give you some solutions on what you have to do about the initial state that you worked on. Okay, I think some of you may have started getting some insights already, and rest of it may come in due course. So that's a nice garden metaphor. You create your own garden and you are representing your problem with the help of that garden. So now, what is the way forward? One is, I told you, keep spotting for the metaphors. Another is putting a structure to it. Whatever your current problem is, let me animate this. So whatever your current problem is, your situation is, chunk it up to see what is this an example of, what category it belongs to. Then chunk it down to see what other example is there and add some resources or resolution to that. And then apply that over here, like what we saw in the gap in the wall or your garden which you have created. It is your garden, it is your metaphor. If you're not a garden person, you can even take a beach or a mountain. But you figure out in your own metaphorical world what works best for you and apply it. To give you an example, one of my friends, one of my ex-colleagues once, we were just discussing together and I was asking that how's work, what is happening and all. So he was complaining that, I have grown a lot in this company and now I am faced at a situation where my ex-colleague, who was like my peer, has been promoted in front of me. Now I'm feeling stuck. I can't go further ahead. My growth is restricted in this organization instead of working so many years away. And applying this framework, which I told you, I asked him one question. Now, let's say you are on a highway, you are driving on full speed, you are in the fast lane, and you've come a long way. And now you have reached a level where in front of you there is a lorry, a big truck, and you can't go ahead. What will you do? And I just left it with that question. And he said, I will change lanes. And then he moved out. He joined another organization. And after decades, when he met me, he's telling me that one discussion we had was a life-changing discussion for him. That is a metaphorical solution. Another way to practice further is metaphorical thinking. Find magic in the mundane. Like a few years ago, I had put up this post on Facebook. I was at the airport. And a thought came to my mind, which is the journey, which is the destination? For an aircraft, is the airport the destination or is it the sky? So relate to things like that, like the door, which I prompted you to think about. What if such unknown or objects, inanimate objects, what metaphorical learnings do you get from that? All right, so I hope you enjoyed the session. And before that, one thing that we started off with, one question, why this jar? So here is the answer. The word metaphor comes from the Greek word amphora, which is a storage container for transporting valuable goods. And that means that we are using metaphor as a way to transport meaning from one kind to another. So the word metaphor itself is a metaphor. Right? So thank you very much for being a lovely participative audience. And this is where you can connect with me online on social platform as well. Wonderful being with you. Thank you. So if we have time for the Q&A, I don't think we have time.
We have a minute, but I would, because I see everybody is such a huge fan of Mehernosh. If you guys want to turn on your cameras, we can take a picture with Mehernosh before he goes. Would you guys like that? Yay.
I would surely love that. Thank you.
Let's, so I'm going to give you a cue and all big smiles like we had throughout the sessions. And 3, 2, 1. I'll post a picture on VOA for you guys to access it. Thank you so much, Mehernosh. I think we have break if you want to take one more question and move for 2 minutes extra, because after this we have half an hour break. So if anyone has
the advantage of being the speaker of the break, you have some leeway. Yeah. Sure. So any thoughts, any questions? Or there are some questions.
Just a word, thank you. Just a word, thank you, sir. Very insightful session. And the way you engaged us with the activities, not just in the breakout room, engaging with other people, the roommates, even without the breakout room, it was a two-way interaction, and the interaction from everyone through the chat box, it's like, we were talking to each other, could feel that. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a great session. Thank you so much. I got a lot from it, and also a direction. So thank you. It was brilliant.
Super. Thank you so much.
Mehernosh, it was a beautiful garden of learning that you created for us. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So keep blossoming the garden. And
Mehernosh, I would want to add something, that you are the door for me for the NLP world. So I actually entered the NLP world through the door called Mehernosh. So for me in the NLP world, the door is a metaphor, into the learning, into stepping into the learning of NLP, and the name of the door is Mehernosh. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehernosh.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. It was a powerful session for all of us. I agree with all of them. It was such a fantastic session, so engaging, and it gave a whole new perspective to so many things.
So we do have some questions in WOA app. We would want to take that now, or want me to respond?
We could. We definitely could. We have a minute more. Would you like me to share the question with you?
Yeah. So it is
metaphorical language is indeed effective. Is there a way or a guideline to develop the skill of using more of it?
Yeah, certainly. And that is what two things which I told you. One is called as the top-down approach, where you start from the point, the problem. Anything, any situation you are in, ask yourself, what is this like? Related to something unconnected, something metaphorical, create your own associations of that. What is it like? And if I would have a solution to that other sphere of thing, what would that be like? Whatever answer you get to that, how can you apply it in this aspect? Now, one thing is to train you on that, to train your mind on that. It may be difficult to start working on that only when you're in a problematic situation, and then training your mind to look at problems in a metaphoric way, to explore solutions. So there is one principle I truly believe in, that practice when you don't need it, so that you have it when you need it. So practice it with something nice, something fun. You may be enjoying a movie. You may be having time with a family. Ask yourself, what is this like? Channelize your mind to think more metaphorically, more creatively, more laterally, more non-literally. And that is one way of training the mind. Another way of training the mind is like what I told you, find the magic in the mundane. In day-to-day, what do you learn? What lessons do you get from a mobile phone? What do you learn from a pen? If this pen had a message for you, what would that be? Like we did for the door exercise. Like the aircraft, a thought that came, I just posted on social media. I'm not telling you post on social media, that's your choice. But at least think about it metaphorically. What could it mean? Right? If metaphor is used for negative influence, we need to reframe and move, or need to look at it like solving a problem. No, you can look at it like solving problem. You can use it both the ways. You can directly reframe it. Like when we said, you're at the crossroad. So wow, you have so many more options today. Or you can go further into it, look at like solving a problem, what crossroad, what tool is there, what vehicle you have, what kind of road is it, where is the road taking you, which road is taking you to where, and then apply it in the real life as well. So you can use it both the ways. Yeah, sweat in peace rather than bleed in war. Yeah, practice when you don't need it. Yes, Flora, I hope that answered the question on the war.
Yes, I think that was perfect. Yes. I think it answers both the question, because the other one was also related to it when you took the second part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
so with teenagers, with kids also, explore storytelling, right? Like the kids and teenagers love stories. You are here, you are not telling a story, you are co-creating a story. And that's even more wonderful, more empowering than telling a story to the children. Yeah, any book to refer I had shared in the beginning. Let me share that with you again. In fact, a lot of what I shared was from this book, from these books, as well as from my own research. Here it is. You can take a screenshot of this as well. Clean language, magic of metaphor. Metaphorically, selling is about using persuasive metaphors. And metaphors we live by is another treasure of all kinds of metaphors that we use in day-to-day life. Research
Beautiful.
link.
I'll post a screenshot of the book reference as well on VOA for your person.
Can I share, will I be able to share the research link on the VOA platform?
You will be, definitely.
So I'll do that. So Payal, please take it from there, or you can follow me on social media and connect, and I'll share it there.
Absolutely, will do. Thank you, Mehernosh.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Mehernosh, from all of us. Fantastic session. Thank you.
Enjoy the
much.
summit.
And yes, hope to see you all in the next session. Quick break, and then we meet in about 25 minutes.
The aha moment, Mehernosh, was the crayons and the Sudoku fill in the blanks.
In the blanks.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Bye.
Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.
See you on the other side of the break.